Hello, welcome again. This is Christine. This is another episode of Soul Sunday. And today I want to talk to you about, one of the most important things that are easily ignored when we're starting out, when we're launching out, whether you've been called into ministry, whichever assignment, God has really called you for, whether you've been called into entrepreneurship or whatever it is in life that you may be going into and trying to launch into. Because many times we do think we have to have everything together. But today I want to talk to you about discovery, self discovery, right? Because many times we feel like, I need this much money to get started. I need this platform to be seen and get started. I need this many people, to be already following me or to know me already. Sometimes you feel like you need approval, right, from maybe your church or your leaders or your friends or somewhere, maybe your family. All these things that we put in our heads before, we really take that leap of faith to get started. And the more we think about them, the more we get started the wrong way, or the more even we get stuck and we don't get started at all. But today, I want to talk to you about the power of self discovery because I believe that, even when you have all the money, you have all the capital, maybe to start a business, right? And you have, all these people that know you before you venture into maybe your ministry or whatever calling it is that you have on your life. You cannot operate without knowing who you are, without knowing where you are, without really appreciating where you have been, because it's where we have been, right? And just knowing where we have been, that is going to help us understand, where we are. So discovery is a very, very important step. First step, I would say. And in this, there's, really figuring out who we are, which is identity. And that identity is one of those things that most people struggle with. Most of us have struggled with identity, for the longest of time. Why? Because there's so many things that happen when we are growing up, when we are young. And when we've matured now, we're trying to figure out what we can do. We've got these friends and we've built these relationships, so we start getting shy and really trying to be perfect, right? And we forget that all the perfectionism, not in that negative way, but all the authenticity and goodness and everything is on the inside, right? So when it comes to identity, it's very, very important to identify who we are. Who are you? Who are you? As Christine, I have to figure out who am I, right? What are those things that really define me? And every person has an identity, right? And as you know, so many people that have made it and become stars and made it in life and become icons or big people that have stood out in their places of calling. There's something that we identify them with. There's something they have done, or there's something about them that makes them who they are. So each one of us has an identity, right? And if you're to become a star or something super, you gotta know who you are and really stick to those things that define you. So if we don't find ourselves, we're gonna be lost, right? Or if we don't get lost, we're gonna be defined by other people. Other people are going to give us names if we don't figure out who we are. Because as the world that we live in, the word fake has become like a norm. There's so many, if you're in any industry, you're gonna find some fake. So fake is kind of that term that is pretty common, that you're going to find everywhere. So there's so many fakes, there's so many photocopies, there's so many, people that are not real, right? For some reasons, they have their reasons why they do what they do. But we don't want to get lost in that as children of God, as kingdom women, as people that have been called, right, for more. We have been called for greatness. We have been called for abundance. we ought to know and identify who we are. But the one thing that I know for sure is the absolute truth, is that in Genesis 1 27, right? That is where really, and that's where I point most people when, that we are created, that part says that we are created in the image of God. We were created in his likeness, in his image. That means we share an identity with him. We share, who really this God is as a creator. Everything that he is, we share. So for me, that is my starting point. That is where I start from when it comes to really identifying who I am. And once you have that truth, once you believe that, because sometimes people read it, but they do not believe it, right? But once you have that faith and that belief that I am an image, I'm created in the image of God, I am an expression of God, right? So that is going to help you to move in a way whereby you're going to keep your head up, right? Even if someone calls you a different name or someone says something else about you, your business, your children, where you're going and what you do, you know what to answer. You may not answer them directly, right? But you know what to say to yourself, that I am God's creation. I'm created in his image. I am made, out of his likeness. So nobody's entitled to tell me anything otherwise. Right, so that's a very crucial truth that I live with, and I want to leave that with you as well. So in order to get away from what people say, and in order to be comfortable in who we are, in our skin, in our basically even physically how we are. And I'll tell you, there's something about us. There's something about you. There's something about who God has made us. Some of you, you have been made, with different physiques, right? Maybe you're tall, you're built, you're shorter, maybe you're smaller, you're slimmer, maybe bigger than, your sister or things like that. Maybe you speak a certain way. Maybe you walk in a certain way. All these things, we have to put them in consideration, that God has designed those uniquely to do some things as regards your purpose, right? To help you on that journey of discovery, but not only stop there, but also help you facilitate your purpose and get you where you should be going. And that is why you find some people, really flourish in different places, different areas, and, just sometimes using who they are in the physical, right? Why? Because that is the role, that God really has. And that's why identity is very, very key. So, I'll tell you also that, there's some things that really govern life, right? That even prayer and fasting may not be enough, right? So you can pray and fast for an entire year trying to figure out which kind of business you want to do, or how to succeed in a particular business, or how your ministry can go on, or how you can try and help so many people that you want to help, but you cannot get to that, right? It's because, some things cannot be replaced. There's some principles that they are the principles of life, right? So if you do not figure out who you are, what your identity is, and try to leverage that, right, in terms of really who God is for you, and it can be very difficult to live authentically and to show up in a way that really people appreciate you and want to work with you and want to follow you, right? So, some people are just quiet, right? And they find their identity and, I am this type of person and this is what I want to do. There are people that are just great at being behind the microphone, like now, right? There are people that are just as comfortable as being out on the video. They want to be seen all the time, but it doesn't mean that the other one is better than the other. It's because we've all been wired differently. If you read in the book of Jeremiah, that's another area that really, we can learn from, in how, Jeremiah has been called, and, and God comes to him and says, I have known you even before the foundations of the earth. I've known you before you came out of your mother's womb. I know you, and I know where I want to take you. I know where you are going. But sometimes we try to resist that, right? And try to do what everyone else and what everything else is doing. And we're in this world where the world is really setting standards, And if you just look even at our children, the world is really setting standards in every area. The world, wants to define how things should be done, how we should look, how we should dress up, what music we should listen to, how church should be done, how business should be done. And all these things can be so difficult, can be so much. I happen to be a lot in a digital space, where everything is now. So doing business on online is quite different from how traditionally it was, right? But it is all these things, all this information, all these things that come up every day. Things keep changing. But if you're not really stable and you don't know who you are, you don't know your values, you don't know your boundaries, it's going to be very difficult to flourish. It's going to get overwhelming. So very, very important, like at every stage of our lives, as we develop, as we grow, as we, try to go deeper in who we are and in how we do things. It's very important to do these checks all the time, reflect and really check out, am I still on track, right? Am I still working with my values? Am I still me? And do I even recognize who I am? Do I recognize who God is in what I'm doing, in the business that I chose to do, in the things that I've chosen to do, the places that I've chosen to go to? Do I recognize the hand of God? Do I recognize, that God knows me, He sees me? When we get overwhelmed, right? Sometimes we forget. But God is always there. We just have to engage Him. We just have to engage this identity with Him. Right, so very, very, very key. So self-discovery is something that we cannot run away from. It is something that we'll keep doing as we grow our businesses, as we grow our lives, as we grow, personally, professionally, as we grow our families. Finding your identity is very, very key. Also, because usually when you do that, the rest will find you. The rest will find you. The money that you're looking for is going to find you, because now you're starting, when you know who you are, you're operating now in a more authentic way. The energy is natural, the enthusiasm is there, the passion is genuine, right? And how you show up is really natural, because now you're connecting to people with who you are without faking anything, without lying, without wanting to be someone else, right? You're really showing up like you. So the connections are going to be smooth, and that is how you connect for anything, right? Whether it's business, whether it's ministry, whether it's friendships and relationships, whether it's at your work, your job, and how you relate with that. I just zeroing out to who you are and appreciating that is going to be very, very, very key, right? And also knowing our identity, that is going to help us know our position, right? So we're not doing things, we're not jumping over tables, we're not jumping over places and positions, we're not jumping over people, because we appreciate who we are and we're comfortable where we are. Like, for example, if you're doing a job and you know exactly what your qualifications are, you know why you're in that position, you appreciate that position. When you get into that place where your identity is very clear, this competition is gonna be phased out. Right? So instead, you're going to appreciate who you are as a creator. So it's going to be creativity over competition. So now you sit at your job comfortable, knowing and saying to yourself, I have to be creative in my position, right? So I can be appreciated for who I am and what I bring to the table. But for someone who doesn't know their identity, some of the things that are going to show up are competition, right? And trying to work so hard, trying to push too much, sometimes at the expense of other people's comfort and peace, right? Just because they're working too much. When we are in our places, when we know who we are, it is less competition, it is less work, it is less hustle, because we're just who we are. And you're going to appreciate yourself even more, that you're going to start doing those things that really make you happy, things that are you, things that are connected to who you are, things that are connected to where you want to go, right? So, and when we do that, then the reward will come. the reward will come unto us. So it's very, very, very important to know what our role is at every step of our lives. I do help kingdom entrepreneurs to really leverage their gifts, their talents, and their passions, and even their expertise, right? But one of the things that I share a lot with them is it's important to know what your selling point is. What is that unique thing that defines you, that differentiates you from anyone else, right? Because there's so many people that may be doing what you're doing, right? But you gotta have a unique selling point, and that is the point of identity. That is the point of authenticity. You can only get in that place if you have connected, with who you are, if you have aligned yourself with who your creator is, right? And now you're very, you're very authentic. It's you. It's you. And then people will connect you with that little thing. Like, for example, if you're a Christian woman or a Christian mom in business or in the marketplace, right? I do not expect to see a distinction between your work and your faith, right? The two have to merge. It's going to be very difficult for you to get into into the competition without really appreciating who you are, your values, and your especially your spiritual values. So whether you're in church or you're out of church, if you are a Christian mom or a Christian entrepreneur, that means you have to carry these things along, because those are the things that are going to uniquely put you in a place where now you can leverage who you are. Some people will connect with you. Actually, most people will connect with you from that point. So many people that will come to you because maybe you share your values. Maybe you show up as a real, child of God. You show up as someone that does business as a Christian, right? And that will differentiate you from what everyone else does and how other people do their business, especially those that are not Christian like you are. So that unique selling point, we can only get there if we do that, self-discovery and figure out who we are and what we do and what really separates us, from everyone else, and what separates our platforms or audiences, from other people. Because, I also share this thing most of the time that, sometimes we get so impatient with ourselves, right? And we feel like, if we do things a certain way or how other people do it, we'll reach our success points really quicker. But that's not true. What I believe is, the world is full enough, right? If we operate from a place of abundance, which is what we're talking about really, that is what God created us for this abundance. So if we come through, from a place of abundance, that means whatever we do, whatever you go for, right? There is enough supply. There is enough. There's enough. There's more than enough. There's more than enough people to work with. There is more than enough people for you to serve. There's more than enough. Your competition, whether they're 10 or 100 people plus you, right? I believe that there's more than enough people for you all to serve, right? And have enough to grow your businesses, to serve your families and change your lives. It is more than enough for you and your competition, right? So we just have to know that since we have been created in the image of God, God is abundant. He is everything. Yeah, everything belongs to Him. So if we come from that place, right? That we are God's children. We've been blessed. We created in His image. We have been created for dominion. We have been created for multiplication. And everything that belongs to Him belongs to us because we are His. We are co-creators with Him. That means we can create more than enough, right? So identity is very, very important. It is something that we need to pass on to our children, I believe, as they grow up, so they know who they are. They know that when they go out there, they don't have to fight. They don't need to compete. They don't need to, go with the flow. They don't need to, to go with what everyone is doing. They just need to come back and align themselves with who they are in God, so they can now pick it up from that point. All right, so I'll conclude here with this one little thing that I want to share also, when it comes to, because where I started from is that many times we feel like we have to do so much before we get started, or we have to work so hard to have the success that we need, and we forget, right? that God has blessed us with all these good things, right? And but I also want to mention that even the location has nothing to do with what you can do. It is that discovery, it is that self-exploration that we have to do. Where you are has nothing to do with what you can do or what you can achieve. Whether if location really was an advantage, right, for us to earn more, to make more, and influence more, impact more people, right? If people, everyone that lived in New York would be rich, right? If location really was an issue. But what am I saying today? I just want to wrap up here and also encourage you that there is no location advantage, right? Wherever you are doesn't matter. What matters is really knowing who you are, is really discovering this person, right? You want to do something, you want to get into entrepreneurship, you want to get into a new job, you want to get into ministry, you want to start a ministry, right? It is very possible, and you can work it from anywhere. It's just changing that mentality, changing that mindset and perspective, right? That I'm blessed wherever I am, that the gold and silver in this world belongs to my Father in heaven, right? The cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to my Father in heaven, right? So whether I'm located in Uganda, or I'm living in Ireland, or I'm living in Australia, or I'm living even in the deepest little town, in the United States, right? I know that I can get whatever I want as long as I know who I am and whose I am, right? So wherever you are, it does not matter. So you are a star, and a star, it can flourish anywhere. It can be seen from anywhere. It can be anywhere. It can be seen from anywhere. So and as children of God, we have to embrace that. And once you know that, then you cannot afford to be begging. You cannot afford to be wondering about what so and so said, and what other people's opinions are, and what the media is saying, right? You'll enjoy life when your identity is clear, right? And I want to say that there's enough room for you over there. There's enough room for you up there. There's enough room for you up there, because you are God's calculated creature. And I will stop there. And I just want to thank you for being on. And I'll see you again in our next Soul Sunday. On Sundays is when we really talk about these soul matters, because I believe that women, awakened means they have woken up to who they are. They have tapped into the power that lives on the inside of them, and now they can get up and step up and fly into those places that they have been predestined for. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening in. Subscribe to my channel, share this with someone else, and I'll see you again in our next episode. God bless you.